Well, the thing that is people who are doing any kind of organizing for social change must acknowledge one of the principles that becomes a major barrier is not understanding how internalized racial oppression plays out in communities of color as well as in the white movement. Because we think we got to have a multiracial movement, which includes everybody. But one of the barriers is not understanding how those manifestations of inferiority and superiority is playing out can set us back, and that's a major issue nationally in every group I work with around the country, not only in my region. That internalized racial oppression, which is generational, it's been going on for years. It keeps sticking up its ugly head every time we begin to make movement forward. Not understanding that will set us back. I think we've made progress with it. They're getting more acknowledgement of it, but it's a real issue that can be a major barrier or an obstacle or slowing our progress up. If we don't recognize that's a major thing.
We discovered, not to anyone's surprise, that disproportionality with respect to African Americans exists in all of the major institutions that we have in our government, in our society. That includes housing, education, recreational, criminal justice, health, you name it. African Americans and other families of color suffer the worst. We have the worst outcomes and the highest levels of disproportionality.
So learning about the principles out of the Undoing Racism workshop really highlighted for me how racism is embedded in institutions that affect our families and children. And that even though one may think one is a good person and does good things, that you cannot help but have to work past the implicit bias and the racism that exists in institutions, and that decisions sometimes are made and people may not even be aware of how they're affecting children. And those come from institutions, and that our responsibility at Child Advocates is to change that, to really change how we look at each child and work past that institutionalized racism.
I think I was born to be in this movement. As a child, I remember standing around after church and being just playing, but being so ready to go home, and my parents were sitting and talking, and they would stay out there for hours. And what I didn't know that I know now was they were talking and organizing. So all my life I've been exposed to organizing but didn't realize it. And even with our family conversations at the dinner table, it was around racial issues and dealing with things in life and how to navigate through life.
We're doing Undoing Racism workshops all across this country. And as those workshops are done by the People's Institute, we see more and more people who go through that training actually bringing other people to this work. And so we know that it's all about being grounded in those principles, that they are the foundation for our work, and that it leads to the kind of organizing that will allow us to realize our vision. And again, our vision is that the problems that we are faced with today in every system and institution that produces disproportionate and disparate outcomes for the same population of people, that we will recognize and commit to the transformation of systems so that those outcomes no longer exist for African Americans and other peoples of color.